What's your no one will ever believe this true story? I was camping in the Appalachian Mountains with 3 of my guy friends. We were all laughing and telling stories around the fire one night around midnight. The friend next to me grabbed my leg and pointed at the woods. We both saw a man's silhouette standing there. We called out to him, but he turned around and vanished from sight. We were 18, no cell service, and the camp was all pitched up at midnight. Too late to search for another spot where we might get away from whoever it was, and too scared to search for him. We decided to sleep through the night with two-man watch teams. No signs of him for the rest of the night. We got out of the woods all right. 2 days later, 2 hikers were stabbed and killed by a mentally disturbed man who had encountered them on a trail near where we were camping. Every now and then, I wonder how close we came to having our cars punched that night by what could have been a knife-wielding murder. Alright, big one, so stay buckled in, but also subscribe to me because I'm actually a human and not AI, so yeah. You ever hear about Randall Lee Smith? Back in 1981, he murdered 2 social workers hiking up along the Appalachian Trail. He was caught, convicted, served 15 years in prison for the murders. He was paroled, released. In 2008, 2 men camping in Dismal Creek, Virginia had a man come out of the woods and talk to them while they were fishing. The guy was a bit odd, an old man in a brand new, poorly fitting gear. He sort of invited himself to dinner. While sitting around the campfire, the old man pulled out a pistol and shot one in the head and fired after the other guy. The pistol was a .22 gauge, and the shot to the guy's head was deflected. He was shot in the head, but was still alive. What? And charged the guy and tried to wrestle the gun away. His buddy, who was shot in the back but wasn't aware of it as he jumped into the Jeep and started it up. When he heard his friend start the Jeep, the guy who, I will remind you, was shot in the head, ran for the Jeep, not wanting to be left behind. Both shot and losing blood. They tore ass down the... I can't read this shit. Hold on. Alright. The old man, however, took the truck they left behind and started chasing them. They made it down the mountain and got to a farmhouse and banged on the door, begging for help. The police were called, and 2 would-be victims airlifted to the hospital and survived. That's crazy. The cops went up to the mountain and found the old man in the pickup that had overturned during the chase. He was hurt from the crash. They arrested him and got him taken to a secure hospital where he was identified as Randall Lee Smith. I'm sorry, guys. These typos are just insane. Like, I don't actually go on Reddit a lot, so. The attack happened less than a mile from his previous murder site. In his pockets were personal effect, glasses, keys, and other things whose owners have never been identified. But they were not of a prescription or style, likely to belong to an old man. Randall Lee Smith died of his injuries from the crash 4 days after being caught. The 2 men who would have been his victims survived. I don't know how believable that is, but this guy sounds like a tow truck driver I met once. Sweet older lady in our church was a retired nurse. No married kids. No, never married, no kids. She had a heart attack, and while she was in the hospital, her niece and nephew came and took her stuff. She had a modest apartment. Hold on. I shouldn't be I don't know why. I just got the giggles right now. Just give me a second. Let me restart. She had a heart attack, and while she was... Oh, she had a heart attack. I didn't even comprehend that. Hold on. Just give me a second. I'm slow. She had a heart attack, and while she was in the hospital, her niece and nephew came and took her stuff. She had a modest apartment, but she had some very nice crystal and silver and some lovely furniture. When she came home, she had no dishes and almost no furniture. Several years later, she passed away. That's very sad. I'm sorry for laughing. I was laughing because I was just like thinking of stuff in my head, but her most recent will, dated after her heart attack, left $1 each to her niece and nephew. Everything else went to the church. Her estate was $9 million. That's crazy. $9 million? I don't even have 9. All right, last story of the day, of the video, is about this abduction. I was almost abducted. Went to a park when I was like 6 with my sister and my mom, and there was a really nice man who helped me up when I didn't quite stick the landing. Why do people not know how to use commas? Like, this is really annoying. This is why, like, okay, you know what? Let me restart. I was almost abducted. Went to a park when I was like 6 with my sister and my mom, and there was a really nice man who helped me up when I didn't quite stick the landing at the end of the slide. My mom noticed him and figured he was just being polite. Well, my sister runs off to my mom for a minute, so I'm alone. I look up and see the man looking at me and walk around the play area behind the slides and by the pond away from the view of the parents. That's interesting. Away from the parents. Get Jenny on here. Get Jenny on here right now. I was curious, so I followed. He was crouched by the pond, out of sight. I remember tidbits, but I do remember he told me, what? I was pretty and very mature for my age. He then was in the middle of asking me if I was only here with my sister when my mom emerges, absolutely terrified, in a state of panic. Never seen her like that to this day, and I think that's partly why it was seared into my memory. The man ran when she started yelling, "What the fuck do you think you're doing?" I started sobbing because my mom was yelling. She never yells. But it took me a few years to fully understand what happened and what could have happened. I did have the stranger danger talk, but I thought the man was just so nice. That's all I remember from that day. I'm 99% sure my mom reported what happened to the police, but no idea what happened later. So I'm going to end the video on that. I have a similar story, like from my personal experience, but I'm not going to go into that because you guys don't even know who I am. I don't even know the name of this YouTube channel yet, but subscribe because I'm not AI, you know. But yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.